Hi bestie, I welcome you all back to my channel. I am Aisha. In this video, I'll be showing you how to make cut together shoulder corset with 3 parts. Thank you all for your support. God bless you all. If you are new to my channel, kindly click on the subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on your notification bell so that whenever I upload a new video, you will be notified. Stay tuned to the end of the tutorial. You drew a straight line for your starting point. I will be taking the length measurement. The bust length I'm using is 10.5. The under bust I'm using is 14 inches. The waist length I'm using is 17 inches. You make it a straight line. I will be taking the shoulder measurement. The shoulder I'm using is 15 inches. You divide your shoulder by 2. I have 7.5. I will be coming down by 8.5 for the shoulder length. You measure that 7.5 here also for the shoulder and make it a straight line by creating our armhole length. You name the lines: chest line, bust line, under bust, waist line. I will be taking the bust span measurement and making use of 8 inches. You divide your bust span by 2. That's your nipple to nipple measurement. I have 4 inches there. You measure that 4 inches on the waist line, under bust, and the bust line and make it a straight line. At the bust point, I will be coming down by 1 inch. This is the front aspect. I will be making use of 1 inch for the dart. That's half inch at each side at the waist line. You draw your dart leg this way to meet the new bust point. I will be taking the circumference measurement. You divide your bust by 4. Your waist by 4 also. And return the 1 inch dart at the waist. And you shape it. I will be making use of the radius measurement. For us to get our radius, that's the measurement in between the bust line and the under bust. I have 3.5. From the bust point, you measure that 3.5 all round in a circle shape. And you can make use of your compass to measure it all round. This is it. I have my radius. I will come to the neck. I will be taking the neck measurement and making use of 3 inches for the width and 3 inches for the depth. You make it a round shape. You can make use of your free hand or you make use of your French curve this way. I will come to the armhole length. I will be taking 1 inch from the armhole length for us to create our shoulder slope. This is it. For us to create our shoulder dart, we will measure whatever we have at the shoulder here. You divide it by 2. I have 4.5. I divide it by 2 and I connect it to the bust point this way. You straighten it to meet the bust point this way. You measure whatever you have left there. You will return it back And I will be making use of 3 inches for the shoulder dart. I will measure the 3 inches from the midpoint of the shoulder. That's the 3 inches from that line, the midpoint. You measure the 3 inches. After the 3 inches, you return the remaining measurement, 2.25, which is half of 4.5. You return it back for the shoulder measurement to be complete. Where the 3 inches stop, you connect it to the bust point for us to create our shoulder darts this way. You can decide to make use of 2.5 or 2 inches depending on how you want to tighten this upper part. Now I will be creating the armhole with the French curve this way. For us to tighten our under bust, you come to the under bust. I will be taking 1 inch dart, half inch at each side. I'll measure half inch at each side and connect it to the waistline this way. I'll connect the under bust to the bust point. This way, you can see. You connect it to your bust point on the bust line. You can see this is it. Now I will be cutting it out. This is it. Now I will come to this upper part. I will need to alter our gaping dart. For us not to have gaping at this upper part, I will remove half inch at each side and connect it to the bust point. You come to the upper part where the shoulder dart stop. You measure half inch and connect it to the gaping dart this way. Make sure you blend it at this point. For us to create the depth of the neck, I'll come to the gaping dart. I'll connect it to the bust point. That's where I want the depth of my neck to stop. You can decide to bring yours to the upper part or you can decide to go down depending on how you want it. But for me, I'll be making use of the bust line for the depth of the neck. You can see from that point, I will be cutting it out. You follow the shape to the upper part to cut out the shoulder darts. I will be cutting out the waist dart to the under bust for us to close the tighten at the upper parts of the corset. I will be closing this tighten at the upper part this way. For us to have our 3-part corset, we need to close this upper dart for us to create the 3-part corset. I'll come to the bust line where the depth of the neck stop. I'll measure how wide I want this upper part of the corset. You determine that here. So I will be making use of 1.2. You can decide to use 1.5 or 2 inches. And you come to the armhole here. From the side of the armhole, you measure whatever measurement you took at that side, you measure it at this point also, and use your ruler or French curve to straighten it this way. You connect it together this way. Same measurement at both sides. You can see it's connected to the circle, which is the radius. At this side, the armhole side, you connect it to the bust line also at this side, to the radius. To you can see, by the time we close the darts and the tighten at the upper parts, we'll have our cup this way. You can see it. So now I'll be cutting it out. For us to cut it, you follow the radius. You can see, you follow that circle shape to cut out this center part first. You follow the circle shape to cut out the side also, connected to the side. You can see it. Now we'll be cutting out the upper part. You cut out this upper part this way. And we have the center part. You cut out the tighten that at the upper part here. So we separate the two. You can see it. You use your tape to tape these two parts together this way. Very important, you indicate your concept so that you won't be confused when placing it on the fabric and when sewing it. You indicate the side and the center. And I will be adding arrow to it for me to know the point that I will be joining together. Now we have our shoulder concept. This is it. I'm done with the front aspect. So now for the back aspect. This is the back aspect. The shoulder I'm using is 15 inches. You divide your shoulder by 2. We have 7.5. Same way we did at the front. I came down by 8.5 for the armhole length. I'm taking the shoulder measurements here also. And you connect it together for us to create our armhole length. I have my bust line and waist line. Same measurement we use at the front aspect. I will be taking the circumference measurement. You divide your bust and your waist by 4. And you add 1 inch dart to the waist. I will be taking the bust span. That's your nipple to nipple measurement, which is 4 inches. You take it on the waist and the bust line and connect it with your ruler. I will be taking 1 inch dart at the waist, half inch at each side, and at the upper part here, from the bust line, I will go up by 1 inch because this is the back aspect, and you draw your dart leg this way. I will come to the upper part. I will be taking the width of the neck, which is 3 inches, and I will make use of 1 inch for the depth. You curve it this way. We are not making use of the neck, but for drafting purpose. My camera went off. I'm making use of 9 inches for the depth of the neck. You determine that. You can decide to go down or come up. I will be cutting it out. I've also connect the shoulder dart to the bust line. You can see. You divide your shoulder by 2 and you connect it to the bust line. This is the depth of the neck. So we have both sides. We have our back aspect. This is the front and the back aspect. I will be showing you the sewing part for the front aspect only. For the back aspect, when placing it on your main fabric, you can decide to have your lacing at the back. You remove the inches for the lacing if you want lacing at the back, and if you want zip, you add your zip allowance to the back aspect. This is the front aspect. I've cut it out with the fabric. I cut 2 pieces for each, and I've add stay to one of it. You can see I add stay to one of it because this is for tutorial purpose. I'll be showing you only one side of the corset. When cutting for both, you cut out 4 pieces of this with the lining and the main fabric. For the sewing, you come to this center line. This is the bust line. You can see that bust line. You notch it on the main fabric on both sides. You pick this other side. Make sure everything is laid. You notch that line on both sides for everything to be equal. You can see it. Now I will be picking it. I will be using the one I had ST2 for the lining. That will be for the lining. I didn't add anything to the main fabric, but when sewing yours, you add your wording or your ST to it. I will pick the two and join it together at that point. I've joined it together. This is it on both. You can see. Now we need to open the hem seam and iron it. You use your tailor hem to iron it this way. You place it on it this way and iron it for that cup shape to come out. I have a video on how to make the tailor hem. I will be dropping the link below for you to watch. For this upper part, you pick it and join it to the one that will join together. You can see you join it together that way. Use your office pin to hold it together and place sewing on it. On both the lining and the main fabric. This is the lining. Let me do that. I've joined it together. This is it. You can see. Now we need to iron it. You open the inseam and iron it. Please give this video a thumbs up. If you are new to my channel, click on the subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on your notification bell so that whenever I upload a new video, you'll be notified. This is it. You place it on each other this way and sew it at the neck. I've sewn it. This is it. Before joining the neck together, you add your bust caging or your ready-made cup to your lining if you are adding it to it. If you are using bust caging, you follow the joining line. This joining line, you can see, that's the first line for the two. That's the second line. And this is the third line. Both horizontal and vertical. You add 3 lines to it and place your regional boning on it. You sew it to it on the lining before joining the neck together. But because this is for tutorial purpose, that's why I'm not joining anything to it. Place your boning on it this way and sew it downward for you to have that effect. You notch the neck all round. Now I will be top stitching on the lining part. You place it this way. You flip the inseam to the lining one and top stitch on it. I've done that. This is it. Now we need to iron it. This is it. We have it this way. At this center, You chalk it and notch it. You notch that center. The center must be equal with the upper part. Both center must be equal when joining it together. You can join this in two ways. You can decide to join it this way, the one I'm using, this method I'm using, and you can decide to sew in the armhole on the upper part and the remaining armhole on this down aspect, and pick both the upper part and the down aspect, both the lining and the main fabric, and sew it together from that center. You sew it to the front aspect and use a stripe to cover the sewing. But as for me, I'll be joining it this way. I'll join the lining of the upper part to the lining of the down aspect and the front aspect to the front aspect of the down aspect. Make sure the center meets. That center, make sure it meets. You use your office pin to hold it and sew it all around. This is it. I've done that on both. You trim off the excess. You can see. Now I will need to sew the armhole with 1/2 inch. This is it. I've done that. You notch it after sewing. And turn it to the front aspect. And this upper part of the center, you will sew it in. You place sewing on it. I've placed sewing on it and I've placed sewing on the side also. I've placed sewing on it downward at this center also. You can see. Now I will need to iron it. Support this channel by clicking on the join button. God bless you as you do that. This is it. For this down aspect, when placing your pattern on your fabric, I will advise you add 1.5 or 2 inches to the length when placing it on the fabric for you not to be short of allowance, because I noticed at this down aspect, by the time I finished the sewing, I was short of allowance. So I will advise you add some inches to it. This is it. This is the front part and this is the inner part. You can see it. When sewing yours, you have 2 pieces of this and you join it at this center and use a stripe to cover the joining at the center front, and create your boning channel to add your boning to it. Like and share. Thanks for watching. Bye.